الحمد لله وكفاه وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى لا سيما النبي المجتبى الأمين المصطفى وعلى صحابته الكرام وآل بيته العظام المستكملين الشرفة. أما بعد, continuing in our study of the fiqh of Seerah, the last thing that we talked about was the story of the elephant. The story of the elephant, we still have a few benefits in relation to the story of the elephant to take, just a couple, and then we're going to move on to our next event in the Seerah, and that is the Mawlid of the Nabi, the Mawlid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From the benefits of the story of the field that we talked about, and from the benefits of the story of the field, first of all is that it's mentioned that Abdul Muttalib is mentioned in some of the narrations which narrate the story of the field, that Abdul Muttalib actually went out to the edges of Mecca to meet Abraha, who came to destroy the Kaaba. When he came and he spoke to him, and he mentioned some things to him. When he spoke to him, he didn't mention anything about Al-Bayt al-Haram. He didn't mention anything about the Kaaba, or him coming to destroy the Kaaba, or try and persuade him not to. Fine, rather what he mentioned is something to do with some camels that were taken, etc. Fine. In regard to this, Abraha actually mocked or scorned him for this and said, how do you now come to me and not mention anything about the Kaaba, the same Kaaba that I came to destroy, the same Kaaba that represents your religion, the same Kaaba that represents the religion of your forefathers. Right? And the shahid, the point of this benefit is Abdul Muttalib's response. How did he respond? Abdul Muttalib responded, لِلْبَيْتِ رَبٌّ يَحْمِيهِ. He said that the Bayt, the Kaaba that you're referring to, the Kaaba has a Lord. The Kaaba has a Lord, and that Lord will protect it. That Lord is the one that will oversee such a blessed house. And after this, him and the rest of the people of Mecca, they left and they went to the mountains. Right, so what is our benefit? What's the benefit that we take from this? The benefit that we take from this is that Abdul Muttalib was a mushrik. Abdul Muttalib was not a mu'min. Abdul Muttalib did not have the aqidah that we have as Muslims. He was not blessed with that. Right? And with that being said, he showed a sign of tawakkul. He showed tawakkul. He relied upon Allah Azza wa Jal in regard to the Kaaba. He had confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal in regard to the affair of the Kaaba. He didn't even mention in his speech when he went to see the emperor, the Amir, Abraha, he didn't even mention the Kaaba. Fine? What did he say? لِلْبَيْتِ رَبٌّ يَحْمِيهِ. The Bayt has a Lord. Allah Azza wa Jal will take care of the Bayt. Is everyone with me? And what's strange is that you find in our times, many of the Muslims, this type of the intricate meaning, this meaning of tawakkul and i'timad, reliance upon Allah Azza wa Jal, this worship which we mentioned for those of you who are with us in the Aqidah course, tawakkul, reliance and trusting and placing our affairs in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal, it's a worship of the heart. Fine? The strange thing is that we find many of the Muslims who have the Aqidah, who understand these things, they don't understand these meanings. They don't understand and struggle to implement such a worship. Having confidence in Allah Azza wa Jal, understanding and believing with certainty, and showing that belief in our action that Allah is the one who gives victory. Allah is the one that gives victory, and He is the one that will give victory to His deen. He is the one who will give victory to His righteous slaves. And so we find us in ourselves, we see weakness in regard to this. Hatta you find that many of the Muslims, they cling to what we call means. They cling to means, causes. As we know, for every result, there's a cause, there's a means, and due to that there's an effect. You find many of the Muslims clinging to the causes and the means, and they don't understand that Allah Azza wa Jal, they haven't even turned towards Allah and realized that Allah is the one who links the two together. Allah is the one who created a link between cause and effect. He is the one that created a link between the means and the result. Is everyone with me? If it wasn't for the will of Allah, if it wasn't for the ability of Allah, then taking the means and taking the causes, would not lead to any result or any effect. Fine? And this is a very important part of Aqidah. Yani the person can fall into shirk. Can fall into shirk in regard to it. They call it shirk al-asbab. The shirk of means, of causes. Fine? And the proof for this is that many a time you see that a person takes the means. He does everything that he needs to and there's no result. Rather, many a times throughout history, the result has been achieved without anyone taking the means. Is everyone with me? For example, Maryam alayhi salam, she was given a child. Where was the means? Allah is the one that caused that. Is everyone with me? And with regard to this, in regard to what we're talking about now, the story of the Fiqh, Allah Azza wa Jal says this in regard to what He said. أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ في تضليل. Where's the fa'il? Who's the one that did that? أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ. Who is the one that faulted their plot? Allah Azza wa Jal. Who's the one who gave victory in regard to this? So this is a very, very important benefit. In addition to this, within the story of the elephant, there is an important lesson for anyone, for any individual who transgresses the boundaries that Allah Azza wa Jal has set. Any individual who transgresses what they call the hurumat of Allah, the boundaries that Allah has set in regard to what is prohibited and what is permissible. Fine? Because from this we understand a real life example of how Allah Azza wa Jal is Shadidul Iqab. Allah is severe in punishment. He's severe in punishment, especially for those who transgress, for those who rebel, for those who don't submit to Allah Azza wa Jal. And with regard to this, we have to understand that the way Allah Azza wa Jal defended the house, fine, He defended the sanctity of His house, fine, in regards to Abraha. We have to understand that the sanctity of the mu'min, the sanctity of the believer, the blood of the believer, is greater than the sanctity of the house. Is everyone with me? So the way Allah Azza wa Jal defended the house from Abraha, it's they say min bab al-awla, it's of more reason. There's more reason for Allah Azza wa Jal to defend His righteous slaves. Is everyone with me? And there's a hadith mentioned in regard to this, the blood of a Muslim being more, having more sanctity than the Kaaba. The hadith has within it some weakness. As a side benefit, the hadith has it within it. There's some speech in regards to it, however the meaning is correct. The meaning is correct. That which is established is from the statement of Ibn Umar. The statement of Ibn Umar in regard to this. As for the Prophet ﷺ, there's nothing established that he said anything in regard to this, Allahu A'lam. So the point is, if Allah Azza wa Jal would defend His house from such, then He's more likely and more so He would defend the honor of the Muslims and defend from harm befalling the Muslims and His righteous slaves. Is everyone with me? For the benefits of the story of the elephant is that, and this benefit is specific, for example, da'wah, for da'wah and those who want to give da'wah and those who call to Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is taken from the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal chose the tribe of Quraysh. We mentioned last time about this, that Allah chose the Quraysh, some of the benefits in regard to this. From the benefits in regard to Allah choosing Quraysh, what do we take from this? The benefit we take from this is that the person who gives da'wah, he recognizes the position and the status of those at the top. Those who have been given position, those who are seen as the heads, fine, the elders, fine, then their position is respected. Their position is respected and they are rightfully given da'wah first. They are given priority. Just like Allah Azza wa Jal chose this specific tribe from amongst other tribes. Allah didn't choose other tribes. Why? Fine? Due to those characteristics of the tribe of Quraysh. Due to the honor and nobility that the tribe of Quraysh was known for. And so rightfully Allah Azza wa Jal, from His infinite wisdom, chose the tribe of Quraysh. So likewise the da'i, or someone who wants to give a message, send a message, give a nasiha, give a da'wah, within a household, they start with the father. Likewise, if a person was giving da'wah to, for example, a village, a tribe, etc., you start with what? The head, the leader, the sayyid of the tribe. Is everyone with me? And to the end of it, I think everyone's with me on this one, that you start with the head, because the ones who are the heads of the affairs, the elders, they have the right they deserve that respect. They deserve that position. And it's from that respect that you start with them. Fine? And even it's from wisdom, if we understand this perspective, that why are they given that right? Also, because if you start with that person, then they have an effect on those under them. Is everyone with me? They have an effect on those under them. And we mentioned, this is linked to what we mentioned before about that when Quraysh accepted Islam, all of the other tribes followed. All of the other tribes followed and accepted Islam. And likewise from this, and we're going to apply this to some of the young brothers, this applies to them a lot. From the story of the field, we benefit the general understanding of ihtiram, the general understanding of respect. Fine? The general issue of giving respect where it's due. What do I mean by this? So we mentioned that in some of the narrations of the story of the field, it's mentioned that Abdul Muttalib, he is the one who went out to the edges of Mecca and he spoke to Abraham. He spoke. Fine? The question I have is now, why is it Abdul Muttalib that went? Why did someone else not go? Does anyone know? Why is it Abdul Muttalib that went? Any ideas? Amir? Out of all the people of Mecca, why did Abdul Muttalib be the one to go to the edges of Medina, of Mecca, and speak to this emperor who's now come to try and destroy the Kaaba? Because he was the head of the people. He was the most honorable of the people, the head of the people. Is everyone with me? So what do we benefit from? We benefit from this, that the head of the people, just like the benefit before, he has a right to be given priority in regard to da'wah. Likewise, he has a right to be given priority and to be put forward when it comes to responsibilities. When it comes to taking lead in regard to big affairs. Is everyone with me? So he is the one that now we put his speech forward. Is everyone with me? What do I mean by this? Let's put this into real world perspective now. For example now, a person who's younger, a big affair has now come up in our lives and all of the elders have gathered, all of the family has gathered, for example. Is everyone with me? The young person, right, it's not from adab and it's not from wisdom that the young person cuts off the speech of the elders. He cuts off the speech of the one who's known to have that status. Is everyone with me? He doesn't put himself in front of them without seeking permission to speak first. Is everyone with me? Without there being an extreme maslahah, an extreme benefit into him speaking or putting himself first. Does everyone understand this point? Fine? So he lets them speak first. It doesn't mean that we dismiss anything they say or they don't speak. No, but there's a sequence, there's a time, there's a place. And furthermore, there's a way of speaking. There's a way of speaking. The elders, those who have wisdom, those who are the heads of the affairs, they understand how to speak in regards to these affairs. Right? And now, bringing it to real life now, we find many of the young brothers, many of the shabab, when it comes to the issue of, for example, zawaj, when it comes to the issue of getting married, fine, or just generally communicating with elders and those who have makana, they have a status, those of position, fine, they don't understand how to speak to them. They don't understand how to speak to them. You find many of the young brothers, they speak to every individual in the same manner. This is a mistake. This is a huge mistake to speak to everyone in the same manner. Rather, the amount of stories I've heard of young brothers approaching walis for marriage, fine, whether it be you've gone directly to the wali from someone you know, or whether it be you've matched with a sister on a through a wasila, through a platform, fine. From the first sentence or the first speech that they say to the wali, it's over. It's finished. Because they speak, they're either too forward, too blunt. Is everyone with me? Fine. They're too pushy. They can even come across rude. Is that with me? There's a way of speaking, and that's why I personally always advise the young brothers. I always advise them: you don't be the one to speak first. And we understand this benefit from the story of the elephant. You don't speak. If you've now matched with a sister, or you see a potential sister that you want to now approach for marriage, first stops your father. Tayyib, some of our fathers are a bit, we have some misunderstandings. Tayyib, your uncle. Tayyib, your uncle you can't. Tayyib, cousin. Tayyib, brother. Someone elder. Why? And of course there's exceptions, but we're generally speaking now. it's from wisdom to get someone older to speak to them. Why? Because they have a way of speaking. They have wisdom. No matter how wise us, when we're at our young age, we think we are, we're not wise. Fine? The wisdom comes with experience. Fine? And elders have gained that experience. So I highly advise the young brothers, take it from this hadith. You get someone elder, fine, to speak first in regard to these affairs. Does everyone understand this? And even in regard to this, there's hadith in regard to this. It's narrated from Aisha that she said, أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن ننزل الناس منازلهم. Aisha said that we were ordered by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith narrated in Hakim. Aisha said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated us, ordered us, commanded us that we bring everyone down to their positions. We give them their rightful positions. Fine, and this is the meaning that we're trying to get across from the story of the elephant. Fine, that those who are seen as higher, those who are the heads, etc., they are given that respect. Is everyone with me? Fine. And this brings us to the end of the benefits from the story of the elephant. And there's more. There's many more benefits that a person can, if they pay attention and they look and they focus and they really look deeply, they can extract many more benefits. Moving on, so that we can try and take what we can from this. We're moving on to what they call the Mawlidun Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. After the story of the elephant, and what we mentioned and called muta'alliqat, those affairs connected to the seerah. Fine. After that, generally authors in this topical field, they mention the birth of the Prophet ﷺ now. Fine. Very quickly, some information or summary of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. First of all, he was born in the year of the field. Here's the story of the field that we just took, and this is one of the reasons that's mentioned, because the Prophet ﷺ was born in that year. Mumtaz. Likewise, he was born an orphan. The Prophet ﷺ was born an orphan. Benefit. Who can tell me what an orphan is in Islam? Who can tell me what an orphan is in Islam? Any of the brothers tell me what is an orphan in Islam? Mumtaz. So you find that a lot of people get this confused because the orphan, the word orphan is the same as the word we use the same word, it doesn't have the same meaning. An orphan in Western understanding is either you don't have a mother or you don't have a father. In the Shari'i understanding, in our religion, an orphan is someone whose father passes away before puberty. What does this mean? What do you mean by this? Anyone who's above the age of puberty, it's impossible for him to be an orphan. Impossible. Shar'an, Islamically. Fine, the scholars has mentioned that the highest age, after the ikhtilaf and whatnot, it's agreed upon that 15 is the last age for adulthood. So therefore, there's no such orphan above the age of 15 within Islam. Everyone understand? Fine. So the Prophet ﷺ was born an orphan, and we mean the Islamic understanding of the word orphan. And with regard to this, Allah Azza wa Jalla even says this: "Alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa." Fine. So this is also a fact. We know this. Rather, his father Abdullah, he passed away while the Prophet ﷺ was still in his mother's womb. Fine. How did Abdullah pass away? His father Abdullah passed away. He passed away when he went to Sham on business, in Tijara. He went to Sham, more specifically Gaza. Fine. And on the way back now, so they're taking care of business. And on the way back now, he stopped at Medina. Why did he stop at Medina? Because he felt ill. Fine. That illness that he felt is the same illness that he passed away from. Is everyone with me? Fine. So when he passed away, and it was the age of 25, he passed away at the age of 25, and the Prophet ﷺ was still in the womb of his mother, Amina. Fine. So therefore, the Prophet ﷺ was an orphan. Rather, he was the most severe form of an orphan, because obviously someone can meet their father and still become an orphan. Fine. Someone's father can be there present for some of their life, and then they become orphan. However, the Prophet ﷺ never met Abdullah. Is everyone with me? In regard to the day, it's agreed upon. There's no khilaf. There's no difference of opinion that the Prophet ﷺ was born on a Monday. There's no difference of opinion that the Prophet ﷺ was born on a Monday, and there's a hadith in regard to this. There's a hadith in regard to this. As for the place, the Prophet was born in Mecca. The Prophet was born in Mecca. This is again agreed upon. Fine. As for the specific place within Mecca, then the scholars say different things. The scholars say different things. From those is those that say he was born in the house of Abdul Muttalib. In the house of Abdul Muttalib, and others, they say other than that. Fine. The year 571 in the Gregorian calendar. 571 in the Gregorian calendar. Again, a lot of this we all know of. Fine, it's just very quickly to run through it, so that when we hear the benefits, we can connect the two together better. As for the month, then that which is famous, that which is well known, is they say Rabi'ul Awwal. Rabi'ul Awwal. However, again, we can't be definite. Some scholars say Ramadan. Some scholars say Ramadan. Why do some scholars say Ramadan? Some scholars say Ramadan because the Prophet passed away in Ramadan. And if you guys remember in the last lesson, what did we say? We said the prophets are sent, or their prophethood is initiated at the age of 40. So the scholars that say Ramadan, they say that if the Prophet passed away in Ramadan, if you take back 40 years, then it's still Ramadan. Are you with me? And as for those who say Rabi'ul Awwal, then there's text in regard to this and from the Islamic historians, etc. Again, nothing can be confirmed. The date. What do I mean by the date? I mean the day of the month, yani the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd to the 30th, etc. There is nothing established, the date, the actual exact date that the Prophet ﷺ was born. There's many different opinions in regard to this. Many different opinions in regard to this, and nothing is established or confirmed. The last little bit of information in regard to the birth of the Prophet ﷺ is very well known. It's very well known and transmitted, widely transmitted in the books of Seerah and other than that, and the books of Hadith even, that the mother of the Prophet ﷺ, she saw a light. She had a vision or a dream where she saw a light that emanated from her, and the effect of such light was that even as far as the castles of Sham, they were enlightened by such. Is everyone with me? Fine, and the text in regard to this, Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he authenticated this text. Even though there is some speech in regards to it. But that's what is widely transmitted. Fine, and the text itself is narrated from Abu Umama, and he mentions that he said to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ya Nabi Allah, he said, oh Prophet of Allah, what did your affair start with? ما كان أول بدء أمرك. What was kind of the first thing that your affair started with? And the Prophet ﷺ replied, the da'wah of Ibrahim. The supplicate, what the Prophet ﷺ replied? The Prophet replied that his affair started with three things. The first is the supplication of Ibrahim. The second is the glad tidings of Isa alayhi salam. And the third is what we just mentioned about the vision of his mother. The supplication of Ibrahim, the glad tidings of Isa, and the vision of his mother. He mentions those three things, and that's mentioned in the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim. It's mentioned in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, and others. So this text, so we have a text now where the Prophet ﷺ said his affair started with these three things. Scholars have the interpretation of this hadith, fine, if it's authentic, the interpretation of the hadith is they say that the supplication of Ibrahim is found within the saying of Allah Azza wa Jal, رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ. That, oh Allah, send from amongst them a messenger who recites upon them your verses. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and he teaches them the kitab and the hikmah. Fine. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ and he purifies them. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. Verily you are the most wise, the most honorable. Fine. So they say this supplication that's found within the Quran, this is the supplication of Ibrahim. As for the glad tidings of Isa, then they say the verse in Surah As-Saff, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَإِذْ قَالَ عِيسَى بَنَ مَرْيَمَ. And when it was that Isa said, what did he say? He said, يَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل, to the end of the verse. And he said, يأتي من برسول يأتي من بعدي اسمه أحمد. He gave glad tidings of a Rasul that comes after him, يأتي من بعدي, that he comes after me. His name is what? Ahmed. Fine, and we know that this is one of the names of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they say this verse here is the proof of the glad tidings of Isa, and then the vision of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mother Amina. The proof of that is the hadith that we just mentioned that Shaykh Albani authenticated. Is everyone with me? And in regard to the issue of the vision of his mother and the Prophet being a light, Allah Azza wa Jal indicates to the Prophet being a light, and taking people out of darkness and into light many times in the Quran. Many times in the Quran, from amongst those verses is the saying of Allah Azza wa Jal, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. That very day has come to you from Allah a light and a clear book. Likewise Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَاتَّبِعُوا النُّورَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ مَعَهُ. Follow the light that has been sent down with him. Likewise I believe in Surah Ali Imran, فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَالنُّورِ الَّذِي أَنزَلْنَا. Believe in Allah, believe in His Messenger, and believe in the light that we have sent out. Fine. So this is the kind of main things that we should all be aware of, we should all understand with regard to the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We will see how many of the benefits. Moving on to the benefits. Is there any questions so far before we move on to the benefits in regard to that information? Is there any benefits or anything that's not understood in regard to that which has preceded? All the brothers are with me? My sisters with me? So, from the benefits of this information that I've given, and if you look, it's not, again, this is information that we all probably know, but some of the benefits are extremely important that we're going to take from this. So the benefits are extremely important. From them is that when a person looks at the fact that the scholars differ over the date, the exact date. What I mean by that, they don't know if it was the first, the second, the third, the fourth to the end. Fine. The fact that the scholars, there's so many different opinions. Fine. And there's no agreement, and we don't know for certain when it was. Fine. Stick to this point for a second, and we're going to come to the benefits in regard to this. When we understand that the scholars differed in regard to the exact date of the Prophet, fine, we can benefit from this fact. The fact that this differing happened, we're going to benefit from it. Fine. The first benefit is what? The first benefit is that this date, so that what it means, the fact that they differed and we don't know for certain, it means that the date or that the Prophet ﷺ was born, the date that he was born, is not connected to a specific worship. It means it's not connected to a specific worship. Fine? And if it's not connected to a specific worship, it means there's no specific worship that's legislated on said time, how and why. Fine, a person asks how and why. Worships that are legislated for specific times, fine, a worship that is legislated for a specific time. For example, Ramadan. The fasting of Ramadan is legislated in Ramadan. Al-i'tikaf is legislated in the last 10 days of Ramadan, for example. Is everyone with me? The Eid Salah, which is the worship, is legislated when? On the day of Eid. طيب. Any worship like that that's connected to a specific time, from the signs that, from the necessities of us performing such worship, is that we know the time. That's a far of the asr, that we have to know when it is in order to do the worship. Is everyone with me? We know when Eid is in order to pray Salat al-Eid. We know when Ramadan is in order to fast Ramadan. Is everyone with me? We know when Arafah is in order to stand during our Hajj. Is everyone with me? Fine? So the fact that we don't know, we're ignorant of the exact date of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ, is an indication that there's no worship that's specific to this time. Is everyone with me? Fine? So within this is obviously now a rebuttal or a refutation of those who celebrate the Mawlid, of those who celebrate the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ every year. Every year. Is everyone with me? So a person like that now, what do we say to them? We would say to them, okay, you wanna celebrate the Mawlid, first tell me when the Mawlid is. First time when the Mawlid is before. Fine, as they say, ثابت العرف ثم نخش. Fine, you have to establish the muqaddimah, the introductory point first, the prerequisite, before jumping to the result. Fine, if it was something, now we're coming from another angle now. If this was something desired, praiseworthy, fine, if the legislative, Allah Azza wa Jal wanted us to do this worship, if He liked this worship, if He loved this worship, then Allah Azza wa Jal would have shown us clearly, and obviously He would have made clear to us the date that we need to perform such a worship. Is everyone with me? Fine? Well, just like Allah Azza wa Jal has given us clear guidance on when we fast, clear guidance on when we pray the Eid prayer, clear guidance on when we stand on Arafah, and the rest of the worships. Is everyone with me? Fine? As for the Mawlid, then there's no specific date in the first place. Fine? Another benefit connected to this is that the fact that there's so much differing, the fact that there's so much aqwal, there's so many statements of the scholars, it shows us the immense effort, the immense ijtihad, fine, and the deepness of the research that the scholars of Islam have done just in regards to the tariq, just in regards to the date that the Prophet was born, the day that he was born, the month that he was born. What does this teach us? This shows us how much love the scholars of Islam, how much love the Muslims have for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the care and attention that they give to even his birthday, for example. And as we said, there's no specific worship connected to that. But even so, the inayah, the care and attention that was given to trying to make ijtihad and understanding when such was, is immense. It's something to take a reminder from. From the benefits of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ is the specific bounty or virtue of Yawm al-Ithnain, of a Monday, the virtue of the day of Monday. Fine, Monday is the day that the Prophet ﷺ was born. Monday is the day that his prophethood was initiated. Monday is the day that the Prophet ﷺ passed away. Fine, Monday is sunnah to fast on Mondays. Fine, the Prophet mentions that to fast on this day, and this was the day he was born. Fine. As a side benefit, as for fasting Thursdays along with Monday, then there's speech in regard to the hadith. The speech in regard to that hadith, that which is confirmed and established, is that a person who fasts on Monday. As for Thursday, then scholars of hadith talk about the phrase Thursday being mentioned in the hadith. They mention that there's weakness in that. But if a person fasts Monday, Thursday, like that. If a person fasts Monday on Thursday, seeing the hadith as authentic, there's no issue in that. But a person might now, connect to this, a person might not come with a doubt. What's the doubt they're going to come with? A person who wants to celebrate the Mawlid, someone who celebrates the Mawlid, he's going to say what? He's going to say that we fast on Monday. Why? We fast on Monday. Us fasting on Monday is a celebration. It's a celebration that the fact that the Prophet was born on that day. So just like that, why can't we celebrate? If you're already celebrating, if you agree that it's legislated to celebrate, because fasting on Monday is agreed upon, then likewise, why can't we celebrate the birth of the Prophet? Fine. But it's a weak doubt, and there's many ways to dismantle it. There's many ways to come from it. Fine. If a person says this, what do we say? We say, first of all, we don't fast a Monday because the Prophet was born on that day. We fast on the Monday because the Prophet told us to fast on a Monday. That's number one. Fine. Number two is that since when in Islam has fasting been considered a celebration? When has fasting been considered from the paths and means a person can take to celebrate? Fine. This isn't known. It's not known amongst us that we celebrate by fasting. Not aqlan and not shar'an, not from a nazari perspective, not from observation, and likewise not from a dalil, from a shar'i dalil. Fine? Number three, the Monday itself, fasting, it wasn't specified, fine, just as being the day that the Prophet was born on. Is everyone with me? The Prophet ﷺ said with regard to the Monday, وَلِدْتُ فِيهِ وَأُنزِلَ عَلَيَّ فِيهِ. He said two things. He didn't just say I was born on that day. He said I was born on that day and revelation came down on me on that day. Is everyone with me? Revelation came down to me on that day. So the question is now, why do those same people, this is your evidence now, this hadith, you took half of it and you left half of it. So why do we not now also celebrate, fine, the day that the Prophet's, the prophethood was initiated? It's the same evidence. And as we know, ibadah is tawqifi, meaning ibadah, we have to have an evidence to establish ibadah. Fine? So if it's the same daleel, we have to stick to the daleel. We have to stick to the entirety of the daleel. Right? So if you want to use half the daleel, use the other half. So therefore you can celebrate both. And we all know this is, the people themselves don't do this. Is everyone with me? طيب. For the benefits in regard to this, how much time do we have left? طيب. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for today because we have about a minute and a half before the lesson's going to cut. So as we said, the lesson at the moment is about 45 minutes roughly, 45 minutes. So we'll leave it there. We have just a final last portion of benefits. We'll try to get through it in the next lesson, inshaAllah ta'ala. I believe next lesson we'll be talking about the rada'a of the Prophet ﷺ, those who were the witnesses of the Prophet ﷺ and the wisdoms behind such individuals being chosen for that. Is there any questions in regards to anything that has preceded? If you want to send me the question privately on the number provided, or just message me inshallah, and I'll try my best to come back and clarify that to you bi'idhnillah. If there's not any other questions, we'll leave it there and inshallah continue next week. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam wa sallallahu wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Jazakumullahu khair.